Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning to this, the Monday edition of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. My name is Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Now I'm showing you this t-shirt because merch is coming soon. Lots of stuff happening in the background. I know I've been saying that, but it takes a while to set up a let's call it a an empire. Wow, I'm being presumptuous, but nonetheless, this is Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show, guys. This being the Monday edition, let me remind you that all you need to do here at Vuka Nazo is to hit that like button. That's right, do that right now, whether you're watching the simulcast on Facebook or on YouTube. And if it is on YouTube, well then, subscribe. Join the over 41,700 of you in becoming subscribers and helping me reach my goal of 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Guys, find us please on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. Now, with that jibber jabber out the way, how about we get straight into the news? All right, I take you now north of our borders to Zimbabwe. Yes, that's right. That failed state, a country which perhaps has the type of politician who I hate the most, which we also have here in South Africa. Those politicians who, well, firstly, they're politicians, hashtag politicians are trash, but also secondly and thirdly, they are race-obsessed politicians who often claim to operate or work or do things on behalf of black people. I hate that kind of politicians who are race-obsessed and who are racist, whether they say they're pro-black or they operate for whites or whatever the case may be, abhorrent creatures that they are. And of course, the third element, of course, is those leftist type politicians, whether they are statist, they believe the state should do everything, or they're socialist, that the state should own everything and do everything, or communist, the illogical conclusion of that nonsense ideology, where everything must be owned by the state and you should be equally poor and miserable under control of the state. That sort of politician, especially when they're all three, a politician, a race-orientated or race-obsessed politician, and a leftist politician, is exactly what Zimbabwe has with ZANU-PF, and sadly, we South Africans have with the ANC, EFF, and other formations. But where am I going with the story? Well, it relates, of course, to a story that has broken in Zimbabwe and has tongues wagging, which is that type of politician is more than happy to destroy a country and destroy the economic prospects of everybody except themselves and their children. What am I talking about? We're looking at the daughter of the late president of Zimbabwe, or late dictator of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. His daughter, Ubona Mugabe, is in the news, basically as it now is being revealed with her having filed divorce as to just how much she, as a daughter of a former dictator or tyrant of the country, has come to miraculously own in that country. How is it possible that she owns as much as 21 farms and 25 residential properties in that country? Again, this is not about envying what one person owns versus the other, but rather questioning how some individuals come to own so much in a country where millions of people own so little. Again, I must say this, it's not about envying what people own. Of course, you want a society where people are prosperous and they enjoy wealth as long as they do so through legal means and legitimate means. And this is where I strongly doubt the likes of the Mugabes have amassed their fortune and wealth. They've amassed their fortune and wealth through effectively a corrupt political system that their father put in place that destroyed the lives of millions of other Zimbabweans, millions of whom now live in South Africa, as an almost form of refugees in a sense, whilst they, as the political elites in Zimbabwe, live the high life. Now, the details are coming out, of course, after the divorce, the much publicized divorce of the Zimbabwe's late ruler, Robert Mugabe, has lifted the lid on the massive wealth amassed by the ex-president's family, with court papers effectively listing properties worth as much as $80 million. Now, of course, the wealth they have is, of course, off of the back of stolen property that was expropriated without compensation. Yes, that terrible policy that was initiated by Robert Mugabe and which is loved by the likes of the ANC and the EFF's Julius Malema in South Africa. Basically a policy of theft, stealing from those who have in order to give to themselves as politicians. That's what it really means. But nonetheless, let's look at exactly how the politicians' kids in Zimbabwe became fabulously rich off of the politicians who are their parents. The variety and value of the assets listed in the counterclaim is likely to upset many Zimbabweans as the country struggles with entrenched poverty, chronic power cuts, and extreme inflation. Now, here's the kicker. On the list are 21 farms and more than 25 residential properties in upmarket Harare suburbs, including one valued at $40 million and an $8 million Dubai mansion. Chikore, that's the husband, of course, who has filed his own counterclaim in the divorce, also listed numerous cars, including an $800,000 Rolls Royce and 3 Range Rovers. Now, you've got to remember, Mugabe also holds substantial cash in foreign currency and removed, quote, cash in the sum of US dollars of about 760,000 in a bag from the couple's residence, according to papers, end of quote. Ah, yes, the diamond life that these individuals live off of the exploitation of poor people in their country. That is effectively how these politicians and the political elites often come to amass the wealth that they do. It is effectively through the policies that they put in place that are there to reward the political elites at the expense of poor people, literally and allegedly destroying a country in order to loot it for their own selfish benefit. This is what this brand of, if I can call it this, African socialism looks like. It's effectively private wealth and private riches for the political elites and the hobnobs of society, and socialized poverty and losses for the rest in society. Zimbabwe is the kind of society, much like South Africa, unfortunately, that individuals who become fabulously rich do so because of their proximity to politicians and not because of whether they have a legitimate business that serves the needs of people as a capitalist society demands. Now, as I conclude, you've got to understand something. You know that these politicians, that these pro-black types put in our faces every day and present as our heroes, as they once did the likes of Robert Mugabe, for example, to which, by the way, EFF leader Julius Malema still praises Robert Mugabe. You know that their leaders are absolute frauds when the people of Zimbabwe themselves, as is the case with a one Hopewell Chinono, he's a journalist from Zimbabwe who now lives here in South Africa, if I'm not mistaken, in a tweet basically exposes how their supposed heroes, like Robert Mugabe, actually look worse than their supposed oppressors, as is the case with the former prime minister, the last white prime minister of Zimbabwe, Ian Smith, where in a tweet he juxtaposes how the greed of one even surpassed the greed of the supposed oppressor. In his tweet, he basically says the following, and I'll put it on screen so you see exactly what he said here. The legitimate liberation struggle was fought to give land to the oppressed black masses, as he tweets here. And he goes on to say the irony, of course, of a racist prime minister owning only one farm and a post-colonial leader owning 21 farms when his own people have no land is tragic. Indeed, that is tragic, but it also isn't a surprise. People like me have been warning the race-obsessed types, the leftist types, who praise the likes of Malema, who praise the likes of Zuma, who praise the likes of Mugabe, that these people are not their heroes. Often it is those who claim to do things on behalf of black people, who affect to trade on behalf of black people, who are the biggest self-hating and sellouts of not only black South Africans and black people in the African continent, but of all people generally. It is time our politics becomes non-racial, adopts a market and capitalist frame, and actually rewards ordinary individuals in society and not the political elites. All right, that's it from me this morning. Yes, only one story. I wanted to spend a bit more time on this particular story of the Mugabes and this divorce, and what it exposes basically of the type and caliber of politics that we experience on the African continent, the toxic type of politicians that basically reward themselves at the expense of poor people, warning us about choosing wisely as to the type of politicians who we put in power. But nonetheless, let me know what you think about this particular story. And hey, send me some story suggestions, will you? Find me, of course, at my website at bigdaddyliberty.com. There, of course, you can also pledge some support towards the channel. 75 Rand a month is more than enough to help me build a crowdfunding base that can help me fund some of my work. Let me know what you think of my ideas. With that being said, all links to the stories are found in the descriptor of this video. And remember, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, hit that like button, and if it is YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so that you're notified every time the show is on your screen. So that being said, have a great morning. I'll see you again tomorrow for the Tuesday edition of Vuka Nazo.